I think we play it with Uppy. He's the only one that
Agreed.
won. I think he should rip it first. Who's your best bet for week number 2?
All right, let's dive right back in. And I think this is an exercise in not just giving up on a team because it's the most disgusting beat you'll ever see. So I'm going right back to them. Titans plus 3.5 at home against the Jets. Tim mentioned that historical bad beat. I think you have to just throw that out. I think this is still a pretty solid team. We saw them hold the Bears to 0 offensive touchdowns, under 150 total yards, and this is a Bears team that everyone's been super high on. Obviously, rookie making his first start, that's a tough spot. But I will say they have a ton of weapons, arguably, maybe more weapons than the Jets have currently. And I just think this is a terrible travel spot for the Jets. Short week, they're coming back from the West Coast, and then they have to go right back on the road to Tennessee. Not the greatest home field in the NFL by any means, but that's a pretty hyped up Nashville crowd, I will say. And since 1990, teams to blow a 10-point lead in week 1, they're 29-17 straight up and 28-17-1 against the spread in week 2. So this is just a classic bounce back spot with a terrible travel spot for a pretty mediocre, overrated Jets team.
Listen, Uppy, I think that trend, I think it's from Evan Abrams, is probably going to lead a lot of the week 2 discussion because it's kind of the epitome of not overreacting to one game. And I would feel strongly about that. However, the books have graded this Tennessee loss like they won. The look ahead line was Jets -4. It's now Jets -3.5. So it is pretty. It's not like Tennessee got downgraded significantly for losing that game or, and blowing that lead. I think this is kind of that catch-22 in that you think your eyes, I might have a beat on them because I know that this is a bit of a fraudulent result. And I think it's pretty baked in and they're one step ahead.
This was my play. And once you made the late pivot, I had to pivot, but I love it. I think it's a great start. I think people want to underreact to what they saw from the Jets in week 1 in a world where there were a ton of overreactions. I think there was a big underreaction on the Jets. I think the way people reacted to Kirk Cousins' lack of mobility, I think they should be having similar reasons towards Aaron Rodgers and why they're worried about Kirk in Atlanta. They should have similar worries about Rodgers and the Jets. And I think Tennessee's defense showed that they're really good. They added a lot of pieces in the offseason. And I think if they can get Rodgers a little uncomfortable, I think we're going to see a similar result. I like the Titans to win straight up, along with all the things you mentioned about away, coming back from the West Coast short week.
But are you able to separate your Jets hatred from your analysis?
I think my analysis there didn't mention the fact that I almost get more happiness from Monday night than I would have if we won on Thursday.
Yeah, he seemed pretty partial, and I will say maybe his Jets hatred is coming with a ton of validity, and he's just completely ahead of the curve, and this is going to be a terrible team.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great.
Let me do my favorite thing, devil's advocate here. Will Levis, maybe not the guy, and the Bears defense is going to be elite. Obviously, the Jets pass defense is super elite as well. How about the fact that they couldn't cover a game when the other team didn't score a touchdown? I think that is just as bad as saying, it's a positive. So I want to consider that as well. I think low-scoring game. I think both teams struggle offensively. 3.5. We talked about this last week. It's not a total of 50. 3.5 is a lot of points in a margin like that. I think the Jets are going to bounce back, but I could see them only winning by 3. So I'm not using my X there.
Yeah, I think
I'm higher on the Jets than most are. Remember, the Jets just went on the road and played the best team in football, right? Like, it's not like they played some scrubs.
But they were also uncompetitive.
Debatably. I thought they did some really good things. They just got ball control.
If you take away,
and no one's mentioned the Titans running game. I think if you had come out and said, I think that Tajay and Pollard are going to control the game just like San Francisco did, I'm more sold. It's a little concerning that no one has mentioned that.
Well,
I think that's the X factor.
I didn't get there yet, but the fact that both teams are going to look to run the ball a ton, like you said, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, bleeding clock. The way San Fran ran against this weak Jets defense, everyone's just assuming that they're going to bounce back, whereas I think they have a good 1-2 punch with Pollard and Tajay, and I love being 1-0 on the board.
Yeah, and Reddick
right
is
off
not
the rip.
Reddick is not coming through that door, and they got absolutely no rush.
Yeah.
Purdy just picked him apart. You know, I know the concerns with Will Levis, but when you're getting zero pressure, I think anyone can look above average, and that's all we need. Just don't throw the worst pick six in the history of the sport,
and they cover.
We'll be okay.
Surrender Cobra. Yeah. Okay, all right, Tim.
Yeah, the total on this game's 40.5. So, you know, you guys are obviously maybe did some bit of research and saying that it's going to be a low scoring game. And I think you bring up a good point about the rushing attack. Also, this still, again, is a Jets team that we think is pretty fragile. Or at least we said if things went poorly early, that they could be a bit combustible. You're talking about Salah already on the hot seat potentially if this team starts 0-2. You have, you know, an odd thing with Sauce coming out of the game, right? San Francisco, like it still doesn't seem buttoned up, and you're going to go lay points on the road on a short week with a team that we still haven't seen it from yet. Uppy, I think you and Casey, I give you credit. You kind of talked me into it a little bit. I won't play it myself, but I think I'm going to give it a pass for the contest.